Okay, hey guys, my name is Hap and let's talk about Centurion. It has been quite a while since I did a video like this, but trust me, that's all for good reasons, mainly because I did not have the time and I did not have any amounts of cordial alcohol that I could use to soothe my voice, just to make these videos sound a bit more bearable. Thankfully, I have that now, so if you'll excuse me for a moment, I will take that sip. More like a swig. I also have the script on the second screen, so if you see any jittery footage, then that's because of that. So let's talk about the Centurion. Not the Mark 1, not the Mark 5, but the one and only Mark 7. And Hesh, of course. Can't forget the Hesh. Did you know the Cent 7 has Hesh? Yeah, that's gonna be a focal point of this video. If you have known me for some time, then you would have known that the Cent 7 is one of my favorite tanks, just because of that one gimmick. It's strange how such a simple change from a low risk, low reward ammo to a high risk, high reward ammo does so much for the tank's longevity. Granted, your wallet won't exactly have any longevity when they are playing one of these Hesh babies, but that's for granted, perfection doesn't come cheap. So without further ado, let's talk about more Hesh. Before I talk about the gun, I should make one thing clear with this tank. British tanks really don't mess around when it comes to stagger grinds. Stagger grinds on the most British tanks are absolutely awful, especially in higher tiers. I've seen a lot of people give up on the Cent 7 before they even got the L7 gun, which is a shame as they're missing out on one of the most ridiculous guns that you can get. If you're an accuracy aficionado like me, then the Cent 7 is gonna be your dream. With the loadout I'm using, which is calibrated shell supercharged the refined gun, you're gonna have an actual laser beam instead of a gun. 0.261 dispersion, hardly any aim time, and almost 2000 meters per second on the shell makes this gun so easy to work with. If you're using the heat gun, that is. With the heat, this is easily the most foolproof gun on a medium tank in the game. You have very high pen, good alpha, and most of all, it's very accurate. That kind of changes with the Hesh gun, and surprisingly for the better. Instead of 330mm of heat, you get around 232mm of Hesh. Now, you might scoff at the idea of not having any heat, and well, with the Cent 7 that is a bit of a problem that I'll get to later. The mobility especially, but honestly the Hesh is too good to give up. 400 for the alpha is no joke. You will bring the pain to the enemy team on a silver platter, and oh boy, they will eat it. The only thing that actually kind of sucks about the gun is the long reload time, almost 9 seconds, but is that really that much of an issue when the rest of the gun is so good? Oh yeah, and also 10 degrees of gun depression, of course, it's British. At this point, I would heavily recommend studying armor profiles of other tanks. Hesh has a tendency to fizzle out when it hits any bit of tracks. If you can exploit Hesh every single time you get the opportunity to do so, you're gonna be racking in some huge damage numbers, and that pays off for any tank with any kind of Hesh, no matter if it's the cheap or expensive kind. Speaking of the different Hesh, I'd still recommend that you pack at least a few of the cheap Hesh shells in your loadout. If you're meeting some lightly armored tanks, it's better to load the cheap stuff for the same effect instead of burning a hole in your pocket. The armor is surprisingly unremarkable. It's fine. It won't bounce any shots very frequently, that's for sure, but the armor is there, it just lacks any presence. The turret is just about the same as the Centurion 1's turret, and that ain't a good thing at this tier. With the gun depression you have, the turret can still become pretty damn bouncy regardless though. The sights also have these thin side skirts that can sometimes block most of the damaging HE stuff, so, well, if you want a more armored medium, take a T-54. The mobility is where it sours a little bit. 40 kph tops is, well, poor. The speed is actually why I kind of prefer the FV4202 to the Cent 7, regardless of the tier differences. The rest of the tank's mobility is surprisingly fine though. While 58 degrees of traverse per second is some of the worst for a medium tank at this tier, you won't really notice that. The tank at least picks up speed fairly quickly. So how would I go about equipping the tank? Well, of course, you should run the Hesh gun if you're confident in trying the tank out as it's its best part. But other than that, definitely calibrated shells, improved modules, and optics. Then the supercharged for just instant shots, improved assembly, and the engine accelerator to pick up the pace a tiny bit. Then the refined gun or the stabilizer, whichever one rocks your boat. Then the toolbox and the consumable delivery system, I suppose. For the ammo, as I have already mentioned, while you should take a healthy portion of freshly harvested Hesh shells, you should also take some of those cheap ones from the discount corner of your nearest Tesco. Don't forget about ammo management in the middle of the game. Before I go on about any recommendations, let's talk about the pros and cons. So, well, the pros, Hesh, of course, incredible gun, decent hold down capability, and good HP pool. The cons are the long reloads, a terrible stagger grind, unreliable armor, and poor mobility for a medium. So what would be my verdict on the Centurion 7? Well, it's gonna have to depend on you. I hate telling that to people, but tanks like this are really only experienced by grinding them out. If you have the 200k free XP to spare for a tier 9 tank, then you can toss that on the Cent and see if you like it or not. If you're a newer player that doesn't have much experience with higher tiers, however, I'd really recommend to hold off on the Cent until you get some more battles under your belt. Alternatives? Well, are there even any? Well, technically, the Conqueror is one of those. While it has an incredible gun, it only has the cheap Hesh, and the rest of the tank is surprisingly mediocre. And if you wanna double down on the firepower, try a 183, just be prepared for the lack of any accuracy. And well, without further ado, let's take a look at some homegrown and non-GMO replays. Sit back, have a beer or something, and just let it all sink in. Alright then, well, this should be working, but unfortunately during the recording of the audio in Resolve, I actually hear myself talking twice over my headphones. It's probably a little bit useful, but it's also a little bit annoying, so I may sound distracted in some of these replays. Anyway, replay number 1 is in Middleburg, and it's a tier 10 match. Nothing too, well, favorable for the Centurion 7, mainly because it does suffer a little bit in higher tiers. You can see that British accuracy working a little bit there and also failing me a little bit, and here is a nice bounce from the T92. While the Centurion 7 does not have outstanding hull armor, it still is enough for those sub 200mm of pen guns. And that's basically it. Now, also note that I have fired cheap Hesh on the grill. I see so many people just spam expensive Hesh on absolutely everything. And if you see something like a grill, something like a waffle borsig, then there is absolutely no reason that you should use premium Hesh, because it's just an absolute waste of money for the exact same result. Just use the cheap Hesh whenever you can, although that might need some more practice with armor profiles, which is... it's a little bit time consuming. You might have also seen that nice snapshot on the K91 and this really nice shot on the T92. The Hesh has a tendency to just deal big weapon loads of damage against tanks like that, which is thankfully a good thing. You might have also noticed another thing that I do a lot in this replay in Middleburg at least. I try to reveal as little of my armor profile as I can. That rings true for a lot of medium tanks that I play and a lot of tanks in general, but with the Centurion 7 it applies even more because the hull armor and the turret armor is just very unreliable. You just want to go for a quick peek and nothing really extra. If you stay out in the open for much longer, then you are suddenly under fire, as you could see with the K91, which is, well, it's not favorable, as you really want to conserve your HP till the bitter end, because the Centurion's reload really doesn't help things a little. You can also see this STB rolling in, and you can see me struggling with aiming at a STB. You want to make sure that your shots are properly aligned. The STB has just these really weird sides that usually just suck up all of that. And we are nearing the end of the replay. The C-75 finally gets a proper shot into me, and by the time that the battle is over, like 3 minutes, you can already see that we have racked 4,500 damage. If you use Hesh properly, this happens all the time. That's why I just like the Centurion 7 in general. Anyway, that's the first replay, a first class for now 1000 damage, and almost no credits made. That should be expected since, you know, it's a Centurion 7. Anyways, I'll see you in the second replay. Breathe in, breathe deep breaths. I keep messing up this voiceover so many times that this is just gonna be the final take, and that is it. So this is our second and last replay on Oasis Palms. Oasis Palms is kind of an interesting map for the Centurion 7 because during some circumstances it can suck on either side of the map. Unfortunately, this battle is a little strange. Maybe it's for the better, it's actually quite hilarious at some times, but that actually gives me more time to talk about the rest of the stuff that I actually need to talk about. So I'm just gonna give you a quick recap of what the Centurion 7 basically has going for itself. It has a okayishly reliable turret, it has just a downright incredible gun, it has that Hesh baby, I can't forget about that. Let's see that, that's one of the most hilarious parts of this replay. And to be honest, if it's just deleted out right from the start, it's not a painful experience trying to accrue it to 100%. Unfortunately, I did not do that. I grinded this thing from stock, and by the time I had enough XP to skip to the L7B, I already had like, jeez, like 40, 50 battles done in. It wasn't pleasant. The 20 pounder is really, really bad. But you can also get shots like that. I'm sorry if you're already popping in the background, I need to drink some extra water because I am absolutely parched. So back to the Centurion, it has that incredible gun, Hesh, okay turret armor, and it still has fair enough mobility. What I really don't like about the Centurion 7 is its obscenely long reload, although I understand why it is that long. It needs to be balanced a little bit. And I also heard some people complain that it doesn't have the combination of APCR, heat, and premium hash, at which point I just thought that that person was crazy, because there is absolutely no way that this thing should have two premium types of ammo, especially since one is high penetrating, and the second one would be very high damage. Another one of the cons that I don't really like is the module health of the Centurion 7. It just has an awful tendency to lose its gunner all the time, like you can see right now, and it also has a tendency to lose its ammo rack quite often, which isn't helping since your reload is already pretty bad as it is, at least for a medium tank. The mobility is actually kind of okay. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. It's something that could be improved by just adding like a 5 kph to the top of that. You can also note how I am not dead yet, and I do not understand how I am not dead. Trust me, that happens near the end of the replay. Sorry to spoil that for you, but honestly, I think it's pretty obvious, because I got a little bit cocky and over-aggressive. So, Would I recommend the Zen 7 in the end? Well, if you're looking for something to spice up your gameplay and spice up your life, absolutely. If you're a newer player and you want a pleasant experience with a medium tank that's gonna be reliable for most of the time, get a Russian tank. Get a T-62A, get a T-54. Don't get the Centurion 7. This thing is not that reliable. Like you can see here, I'm bouncing all of these shots. That is not gonna happen in 90% of your games. Absolutely not. I also wanted to address one part, and that's me not either doing streams very often or just not making content very often. And that it is because I am at college nowadays. Most of the time of the week, I am studying at a college, and I am majoring in English and, minoring in Czech. There is also that one other problem of COVID suddenly coming in, and thanks to the state of emergency being declared on Monday, 5th of October, I probably won't have a job to go to because, well, the museum will be closed. So, if you want any, nice, fresh premium tanks, I'm afraid I can't give them to you. You'd have to actually support the channel yourself. I know that sounds annoying, and trust me, I believe that it is annoying as well. But there's nothing I can really do about that. Right now, my next purchase is a new phone, so unfortunately I am not gonna purchase anything for the game. So that is the Centurion 7. It's a decently dynamic medium with a really nice mechanic that just gives it a whole fresh breath of air, and I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite tier 9s in the game, and even the FV4202, which is the tank right after this, is one of my favorite tier 10s, because it keeps that same gimmick, and it actually gets a little bit more mobility. So, that's a pretty fun package in and of itself, but the FV4202 is another entirely different kettle of fish. So, yeah, that has been it for me. I am gonna give the tank, of course, a rating. Personally for me, it's an 8.5 out of 10. It still has some flaws. So, back to that. That has been it for me. My name is Hap. If you somehow like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, suggest what I should do next, suggest what I should try and fix in my videos. The audio issue is still clearly prevalent, and I will catch you all guys next time. I wonder what I'm gonna review next. So anyway, guys, have a nice evening or the rest of the day, and I'll catch you guys later.